Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. June inflation cooled to 4.1%, making this the slowest price acceleration so far this year. To discuss this further, we have Shyla Francisco joining us live from Taguig. Good morning, Shyla. What were the biggest contributors to the decline?
Charles, the Philippine Statistics Authority is attributing the lower or the easing of inflation to lower transport inflation due to a lower or cheaper tricycle fare and lower fuel products. Other commodities that contributed to the easing down of inflation include alcoholic beverages and tobacco, clothing and footwear, health and communication. As for meat prices, the PSA also recorded a lower inflation, and they say this may be due to lower the arrival of pork imports, which helped lower pork prices by 8 to 10 pesos based on their monitoring. Charles?
Shyla, let's track back a bit. You mentioned that there was a deceleration in the transport commodity. Did the PSA explain why this was so despite the continued increase in fuel prices?
Charles, they note that this may be due to the higher base effect last year. While prices or the fuel prices are increasing, the rate of increase is much higher last year compared to this year. This is also the same for the transport or tricycle fare, which recorded a much higher rate of increase last year compared to this year. Charles?
Shyla, I understand that inflation for the bottom 30% also eased. What was the reason given for this?
Charles, inflation for the bottom 30% is at 4.3%. Aside from lower transport costs, the PSA says this might be due to a lower prices of alcoholic beverages and tobacco, which had a significant or much higher weight in the bottom 30% income household compared to the other sectors. Charles?
At 4.1%, not so bad. But then moving forward, what is the PSA's inflation outlook?
Charles, based on the first 6 months of the year, they know that the trajectory is actually going down, but they are keeping an eye on certain commodities. For one, the petroleum products, since there are recorded increases in the past few weeks, and also the LPG price hikes, both of which could have a spillover effect on other sectors. Of course, they are also watching meat prices. Although they recorded a much lower inflation, they say the price is still high, and this is what they're tracking or monitoring. Also, the fish prices, which had recorded a higher inflation last month. Charles?
Thanks for that, Shyla. That was Shyla Francisco reporting live from Taguig. The Armed Forces insists that the C-130 that crashed in Sulu was in tip-top shape. This as authorities begin investigating the cause of the 4th military aircraft crash in the Philippines for just this year. Camille Samonte with the details.
The Armed Forces is now investigating the cause of the crash of a C-130 plane in Paticol, Sulu on Sunday. Retired General Restituto Padilla, who is a veteran combat pilot, cited several factors to consider. Padilla told Radyo 5 that it could be the environment, material condition of the plane, or human error.
Sa environment, na-eliminate na po yan kasi nakita naman po natin na maganda yung panahon. So, kasama rin dyan yung material na tinatawag. So, yung status ng aeroplano, doon sa failure ng mga kagamitan sa loob, yun yung sa brake o yung reverse thrust, hindi po natin alam kung ano ang contributing factor sa failure. Kaya nagkakaroon ng contributing ng masusing investigation.
The crash is the 4th aerial accident involving Philippine military aircraft just this year. Earlier this month, 6 people on board a newly acquired Black Hawk helicopter were killed during a night training flight. That happened about 2 months after an MG-520 attack chopper figured in an accident, killing its pilot. In January this year, a refurbished UH-1H UA helicopter also crashed, killing 7 soldiers. More than 10 accidents involving military aircraft were recorded from 2011 to 2020. The most recent one involved a C-130 Hercules aircraft worth 1.54 billion pesos. The Philippines acquired the plane through the U.S. Foreign Military Financing Grant Program. It was intended to be used for territorial defense security as well as relief assistance and disaster response operations. The Armed Forces said it always extends all due diligence towards aviation safety. They make sure that all military aircraft are in good condition to make sure they are safe to use. Veteran defense journalist Manny Mogato said the government has been acquiring refurbished military aircraft. Although still operational, Mogato believes the training and maintenance program of Air Force should also be revisited.
Tingin ko, hindi pa natin kayang bumili ng brand new. Talagang mahal yan. So, partly kasama yan, partly kasama sa ang maintenance, kung gaano kaganda ang maintenance ng ating Air Force. Hindi natin alam kung talagang nasusunod. Kasi nga, dahil ko konti aeroplano, dadalawa lang yung lumilipad.
For now, the Armed Forces has grounded the other C-130 aircraft in the Philippines amid the probe into the Sulu crash. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Though the country still has 4 C-130 planes left in its fleet, a military analyst says only 1 or 2 of them are still operational. On 1PH's Wagpo, analyst and military historian Jose Custodio said that the C-130 that crashed on Sunday accounted for up to 33 or even 50% of the kind that's still operational. Custodio explained, however, that this could also be considered a 100% loss in operational C-130s because the crash resulted in the grounding of other functional aircraft. This law of averages, according to the expert, highlights the need to expand the military's resources and facilities.
Kung military ka, base development ang importante. No? Hindi pwedeng sabihin mo na, tagal na tayo lumilipad dyan. Hindi naman nung kakaroon ng insidente. May law of averages eh. Ano law of averages tayo ngayon?
Custodio also said that the plane crash may not have been caused by pilot error or plane defect. And he says the C-130 is a very safe and reliable aircraft. And although there are allegations of faulty landing gear, Custodio believes this alone would not cause fatalities. The military expert urges authorities to look into the possibility that the crash was caused by the poor design of the Jolo airport.
For me, basically, if you ask me, I would just concentrate more on the Jolo airport than the actual aircraft itself. Because if, for example, if that thing happened in Naiya or in Clark, they'd just walk away from it. You know, nobody would have died. But that thing happened in Jolo. And the runway is barely 1,300 meters long. So, and then at the end, you can see ridges and hills. So, wala talaga siyang ano to. And then may community pa dyan. Kaya nga may namatay na civilians eh.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes says that Malacanang's downplaying of his corruption allegations against President Duterte and his aide, Senator Bongo, means that they are now shaking out of fear of possible plunder charges. Trillanes is accusing Go and the president of corruption worth 6.6 billion pesos in public works contracts in the Davao region back when Duterte was still mayor of Davao City. On 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Trillanes stood by the veracity of his allegations, saying that it was backed by documents from the Commission on Audit.
Sa totoo lang, nanginginig na yung mga yan kasi alam nilang plunder talaga ang kaso dito at wala silang kalusot-lusot, lalo na dito sa mga nilabas ko ngayong araw.
Trillanes also believes that the opposition remains united against the current administration, but he warns against opportunist politicians who he says should not be considered as part of the opposition.
Sa pagkakaalam ko, united naman yung opposition. Ang pinag-uusapan lang kasi kung ito bang mga namamangka sa dalawang ilog ang tawag natin ay oposisyon. Kung ako tatanungin, hindi po sila oposisyon. Kasi ang titingin ko dyan, mga oportunista yan. Kasi ang tanong dito, asa kayo nung winawalang hiya ni Duterte at ginagahasa ni Duterte yung bayan natin?
Javi Gomez de Leano is finally taking the biggest leap of his basketball career thus far by going to the Japan B-League. This comes after Javi signed with the Japanese team, the Ibaraki Robots. This means that the 22-year-old is foregoing his last year for eligibility in the UP Fighting Maroons. 6'5" guard is the second Diliano to join the Japan P-League with Juan, playing for the Earth Friends Tokyo Z in Division 1. From Caloocan to Batangas, people from different walks of life were given a new chance to make a better living through bikes. How so? Gretchen Ho tells us in this report.
Grade 11 student Carl Timothy of Caloocan wakes up at 4 a.m. every day, not to get ready for school, but to bake pandesal. His first order of business, walk by foot to his supplier.
Sa pagtitinda po ng pandesal, tsaka pampili po ng ingredients ng paggawa ng pandesal. Minsan po hindi ko po na-attenan yung online class kasi po nasasarpan po ako sa tulog, tapos pagkagising ko po tanghali na po.
Well, Carl's life will get a bit easier. He is among 30 Caloocan residents who benefited from Team Women in Action and the MVP Group's Bike for Livelihood project. With the help of the Epiphany of the Lord Parish, the most deserving residents received the two-wheeled gifts.
16 years old na bata na nagtitinda ng pandesal, may electrician, may nagtitinda ng balut, no? Meron pang nagpapalit batya.
Manicurist Antoinette Natividad also received a bike.
Ito naman si Nanay Antoinette dahil sa bisikleta, madadala niya na itong mga gamit niya.
Ito po yung aking mapakalaking tulong po ito dahil dito ko po ito ilalagay yung pang-manicure ko. At dito po yung pang-putspa ko. Mapakaginhawa po sa akin po ito ng binigay sa akin na bike.
Bike for Livelihood also went to Batangas and Mindoro in partnership with Puhunang Pangkabuhayan of the Metro Pacific Investments Foundation. They've given not only 10 bikes but also pocket Wi-Fis and sewing machines.
Tourism workers, mangingisda, mga construction workers. So malaking tulong to para sa kanilang pangkabuhayan.
Napakalaking tulong po sa aming barangay, lalo po yung mga masin na kagaya po ng bisikleta na pangtawid sa aming mga kabuhayan, kagaya mga pangisda. Yan po ay napakalaking tulong at magagamit po sa paglalako.
Napakalaking tulong nito sa akin. Kasi sa online seller talagang kailangan ko ng packet Wi-Fi, ng data.
The Alagang Kapatid Foundation expresses its delight to be of help in these trying times.
Nakita ko sa mata ng ating mga kapatid yung saya, yung ginhawa, magbigay ng kabuhayan at pag-asa sa ating mga kapatid.
Gretchen Ho, We Are One News.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.